Okay, it's 1 p.m. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for attending my session. It's my last session, this TTP conference. I do workshop tomorrow, but as a session, this is the last one. And our theme for this session is, if you got cloud, you do not need to worry. You still can protect your data of any kind. And that's a little bit related to my session I did on Monday, when we be talking about authentication. And in fact, the question behind was like, can better authentication protect your data? And we agreed that not. So data protection versus access control. You know ACLs, you hear ACLs, you see ACLs, that's pretty common thing. And that's the way how access to the data is typically controlled in various systems, not only file systems, but even, in SQLs, in data management systems, ACL. ACL implementation can be very smart with dynamic inheritance, and that's open text. Of course, that begins with Novel and then FHMate and Micro Focus and now open text. Or it can be less smart. I'm very, very kind with static inheritance, and a good example of that is Microsoft. It's not really what this session is about, but just to remind you how it works and what is important for the security. Dynamic inheritance is light fast. Yeah? When you assign access to the top of a very complicated tree, 1, 2, 3 milliseconds, and it's there. If you do it with static inheritance, your server starts, rumbling like, and after 1 hour, maybe if you are lucky, everything is there. You can try it on your workstation. If you use Windows, then you can create new user and give access to that user to everything on one drive and measure what time it takes. So that's why I say it's smart or less smart, but still it's ACL, a list of access, of users or groups, and what level of access that object has to, I don't know, some folder, some file, whatever. With Microsoft, people quite often use groups because that's the only thing which works fast because of the security equivalence. Yeah? So you see quite often that they assign access rights to groups and then they assign users to groups. So once you get the group membership, you have access. So, but from this session point of view, any ACL is like warning, no trespassing. You are not allowed to go. Yeah, you can read. You can read it, but you can go. It cannot stop you. Yeah, so that means that the file system or the operating system, and so the administrator can access everything. ACL is just information. Yeah? That's not a real protection. And also any process running US virtually can access the data. If you have a so-called a system process, you can access the data. So, or the system can access the data. So it is not protected against power users or administrator members, let's say, it's about Windows members of administrator group, but it's also not protected against some processes. So as a conclusion, if you are able to manage access to the data, that definitely does not mean that you can protect the data. Yeah? in the title of my session, I mentioned cloud. So maybe when I comment Microsoft and I comment clouds, you might get impression that I hate Microsoft or I hate clouds. Maybe, but it's not about, let's say, the cloud only, because when we start our thinking about security at a level of physical servers, I mean, you have physical server, you install operating system on the server and use the server, like we've been doing, using servers tens of years ago, or it can be a storage, because you can buy a storage which includes some operating system and it de facto works like a file server. So there are some advantages because you can lock it in a server room. So it is physically protected. Without a key or some code for alarm system, you cannot enter the room. You know which machine is it. You can even activate the function blink and it blinks. So, oh, this is the machine with my data. There is no hidden way to make a snapshot. It's physical server. There's nothing you can just, I need a snapshot. Yes, goes. A backup is usually done using an agent, and the agent needs access. So you know that with the old style fashioned agents, you need to create an account for the agent, and when you assign access for that agent access the data. So your only weak point is your administrator, maybe you here in the room, because the administrator can do anything, but not, again, even the administrator cannot do that easy. It's a physical server. But then we've got some improvements. So first is drive encryption. Today, it's a part of the operating system. You can just activate it. There are some hardware or a firmware, based encryption. It's perfect for your notebook or whatever. If you forget it in a bar, okay. That's not bad for your workstation if you are not sure who is responsible for cleaning. That means who has physical access to the machine. If I would, get paid to attack some organization, and I would know that, they pay another company for cleaning, I just ask them, please, can I work for you, or can I help this lady? Oh, she's, somehow limited, so I'm there to help her with bins and other stuff. But in fact, I will, let's say, dismantle the computer, make a copy of the disk, and I have a copy of the disk. So if the disk is encrypted, that is not that easy. It depends. There are different solutions, but generally it's not that easy. So, in such situations, that can be a good protection. But again, in general, this protection is something like we've been talking about in previous session called a master password. So you have a database like CyberArk database, Tycotic database, ZenWorks database. Is it protected by master password? Yeah, you enter master password and there is no further protection. So it looks nice, but the protection you can get is limited. And then we have virtualized computers. That's not that nice like physical servers, because the risky part of the technology are snapshots. You can take snapshot like nothing. There is even a very nice software named Veeam, and Veeam works with snapshots. It's a smart idea, Somebody was smart, say, oh, snapshots, I can use it. Let's copy snapshots somewhere else and say it's backup. Now it's quite expensive backup, right? It works with with snapshots. So it's very easy to take snapshots, and you can copy snapshots, you can use snapshots, you can have a history of snapshots. And okay, with a snapshot, you can steal the data, but also administrator can take a snapshot, do something, and then revert back to the snapshot to remove any tracks, any traces of the action. Yeah. So that is a bit risky. Again, the weak point is administrator. Yeah. Administrator is always the weak point. That's why I said in my previous session that you should know how, if your administrator is paying mortgage on time, and how is his relation with his wife, yeah, and the family. So one measure which can really help, that your virtualization platform talks to SIEM, and SIEM administrator shouldn't be from other department, simply other person. Yeah? This is proven technology. You know how it works with policemen. Some people say, oh, they are in two because one is able to read and the other one is able to write, but that's not the case. They are in two just, to make sure that, because if you are alone, you can kill somebody and say, oh, it's not my fault. If you are two, it's a different situation. And now cloud. Cloud is not like virtualization platform. With the cloud, you know nothing unless you ask. Last year, in the summer, I already mentioned the funny week in Pro, 4 days, Monday to Thursday, I did 4 sessions like here. And every session I say, be, really careful, ask your cloud provider or ask your insurance company if they would, extend your existing, let's say, insurance for a possible data loss in a cloud. And if they refuse, you need to be careful. So you might ask, and people quite often are like, oh, we use Microsoft, they are perfect. Why we should ask them? Or we use Google, or we use whatever. Yeah, you should ask. You might get an answer, but maybe you will not trust the answer. It's like, can I lose my data in your cloud? No, it's not possible. Maybe you remember it happened a year ago. Some customers start complaining. That was Google that time. Oh, we lost some data. We used Google Drive, we lost some data. The first reaction was not possible. But finally, Google said, oh, maybe we lost some data. Sorry. Yeah. Then it depends what you lost. But this session is about security. So if you lost the data, and if this really lost, okay, nobody has access to it. It's lost. Yeah. So there is a cloud provider, and people working for cloud provider, and also government, because somebody can arrive to cloud provider and say, oh, here I have approval from the Justice Court, and I need access to the data. Oh, yes, okay. No? NSA, FBI, all those nice institutions can do that. And for you, it's unseen. You do not know about that. Yeah? If somebody breaks the door in your server room, you definitely know it. But in this case, you do not know what happened. Yeah? So you do not, you cannot take any, let's say, action in reaction to that. So moving any critical part of your business to cloud, that is a big decision. That's not a cost optimization. That's a big decision. You see managers and they say, oh, let's move to cloud. It's cheaper. I don't think so. I don't think so. What I see in, let's say, in EU, that people quite often think like, oh, Yeah, it can be risky, but we can move something which is not that important, and they migrate to cloud with email. Ugh. Email is in the vast majority of organization that is critical part of the business. Gartner Group says, oh, 70% of business logic is done by email, and this is generally valid even for government organizations and other other types of organizations, because they simply they have nothing else, so they use email. They share classified documents by email. Yeah. So it's really, really risky. But this session is not about email, it's just an example. So, okay, you might think, and I have heard this from many customers, cloud is very nice because we do not like our administrator, we do not trust our administrator, so we move it to cloud and we will be okay. No, I don't think so. Yeah. And when we think about cloud, there still must be somebody who manage your data, who assign access to your users, to groups of users, who creates, kind of folders in the cloud. So there is also somebody from your organization or somebody who does it on behalf of your organization who can access the data. Yeah? I manage our Google and I can do anything. I can set ACLs to my users, but I can do anything. I'm administrator. Yeah. So when we think about the way how it works, yeah, we know, we see that we cannot protect the data. That does not depend if we have it on a local server, physical server, virtualized server, cloud storage. Yeah, it is not protected unless the data is encrypted. Encryption is the only protection which really gives you a, let's say, not only a feeling, but in fact, it protects your data. Yeah. I do not mean drive encryption. When I talk about encryption, when you encrypt the whole data set, that's not a real protection. You need to protect data set by data set, file by file, and then it is protected. Because that means that you do not need to give general access to somebody to everything. Because if it's encrypted, like, okay, the whole drive is encrypted, here is the key, and you have access to the whole drive. Yeah? If you encrypt each file, each data set separately, that's the difference. So data encryption itself, I mean, some method, AES, that's easy. You can download library from the internet, you can use it. By the way, we use Bouncy Castle. That's a library. Well, now library, people quite often ask us, hey, oh, you have a solution. Okay, how you implement your encryption? We said, no, we did not implement it. We use standard library. That's a Bouncy Castle. Oh, we know it. That's okay. So even Word and Excel and other tools provide a good quality of encryption since version 2016. When you protect your Excel sheet with a password, it's AES encrypted. Yeah? So if you use some good key, good password, not a stupid one, the protection is okay. So the tricky part is not the mechanism, it's not the algorithm you use. The tricky part is how you work with the key. Because, okay, if you need to just encrypt something for you, no sharing, nothing like that, that is very easy. Then you do not need anything. You can use Word and use some password, and that's okay. But within organizations, we do it because we need to share. So the question is how to share the key, because if we need to share the data, we need to share the key, and that's typical that we need to share or provide the key for a group of users. Yeah. And again, as I mentioned before, we should have a key per file. Let's say, let's talk about files. We call it in general files, because otherwise the user can use the key to decrypt other files. But we need to audit. We need to keep track what users are doing. Yeah, so that's why we should have a separate unique key for each file. If we have 10,000 files, okay, we need 10,000 keys. If we have 1 million files, then we have 1 million keys. So we also need a good key generator. The key should not be like key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4, or whatever. Yeah, so it should be a real good key. Yeah. If we, let's say, would have a tool for encryption, for key distribution, we still need a storage. Of course, now the storage we are looking for, we do not need a storage protected with multi-factor authentication or whatever, because we encrypt. So we can even have a public storage. No protection, anybody can access it. Yeah, but yeah, if it would be really public, then you can run in problems like somebody can connect and delete everything, which would not be that nice. Yeah, so you definitely need some ACLs, but the authentication, for example, is not that important. What is important for you, that all the users can access the storage. That is why some organizations use clouds for it, because that is easy for them. They say, oh, we like to use cloud because their protection against, let's say, DDoS attack is very good. It's included in the price. The disadvantage is that you have to pay for each user. So it depends. If you need to share within your small organization, why not? One of our customers, for example, they are, I don't know, 170 people, but they share the data with 900 external people. So they've been thinking about cloud, but when they have seen the offer, say, oh, no way. We are not going to pay this crazy money just to share some data with the people outside. And the people outside are representatives, agents, because that's an insurance company, or not really only insurance, they do financing and this stuff. So if you arrive to a car shop and you say, oh, I want to buy this car, but I need some financing, they can organize it for you, and they need to share some details, like give me your ID, we make a copy, and we, record some information about you. They upload it to a financing company, and they respond within 30 minutes, okay, we are going to finance the car. That's typical use case for that customer. That is why they have so many agents, but they do not want to pay, cloud for them. So there are other options. And what we did, open source a server, SIFs, that works, available from the internet, perfect. Costs almost nothing and works very good. So you need to make it accessible for all the users. Yeah. Of course, if they already have it, okay, no problem, clouds. And there are also some customers, we have such customers, and they prefer local array. Simply, it can be a server or array, it does not matter, because their security policies are very strict. So you can imagine that we talk about very special customers. But when you hear how they think about this, it's, oh, really? Because they do not want anybody to see, oh, there is more data. And they add data on Monday, because that can be used for something, I don't know. Yeah? They even do not know, they don't want the cloud provider, let's say, from where the communication is coming. Yeah? That's why they do not use any hosting, any cloud. It must work with their own stuff. Yeah? So that's for customers who are really serious about security. But on the other hand, if you want to protect your data just for you, you can use exactly the same solution and you can keep the data on your drive D. Why not? That works. Of course, not for sharing, but in fact, you know, that's also some use case. Because when you use such a solution on your drive D, you get a file with very strange name, an extension SAB protected, and you know that's the content. So you can send the content by email, no risk, it's encrypted, nobody knows the key, and then you can share the key with somebody. So it is, of course, not for daily use, but if you really need to transfer the data, you can do that this way. So I've been talking about the data security, data protection in a general way, but it's clear that you need a tool which allows you to keep the keys, share the keys, and keep track of users, you know, because if you provide the key, you need to know, okay, this user used the key, that means that the user accessed the data. Audit, SIEM event, yeah? And in our product, SecureAnyBox5, that's the name of the product, we offer two ways for data. Call it internal files and external files. Internal files, that is very easy to use because we store them in the database. So you do not need any storage, anything like that. But the size of this file is limited by 15 megabytes. If it's bigger, not possible to store it in the database. The limit is not about the database itself. The database, it's H2, it can have bigger files, but it's about the communication because we use REST API and we have seen many problems, you know, when the browser is talking to this interface, it is not that reliable. So we simply use this limit and it works quite fine. External files, those are stored anywhere, so in a general storage, and there is no limit. Of course, if you decrypt, you know, some nice video, many 1,000 gigabytes, then it takes some time, but it works. So if you can wait, if you have powerful hardware, it works very nice. So internal files are encrypted in the same way as any other record in the database. So in SecureAnyBox, we divide, I will show you, I have some demo, how it works. You can have a safe box, and safe box is a set of records. You can keep different records in one safe box, like passwords, key stores, files. And each record is encrypted separately, but with the same key. So if you, as a user, has access to that key, then you can decrypt any record in the safe box, record by record. And internal files are simply there like any other record, okay? But external files, that is implemented in the way I've been talking about before. So we generate a unique dedicated AES key for each file. That's the key which is used to encrypt the content of the file. And then the information, the key and the metadata, what is the real name of the file, etc., that is kept stored in a safe box like any other record, and it's protected by the key for the content of the safe box like other records. Okay, so if you have access, if you are a SecureAnyBox user, you have access to some safe box, then you can work with external files if you have access to the storage. If you do not have access to the storage, then you cannot, decrypt because you have no access to the encrypted content. Yeah, this is very secure, and we have several very nice projects already, implemented, already running. Some of them using dedicated arrays, some of them kind of cloud or hosting, and they use it for files they work with. If I have a schema how it works with external files, so we have a user. Of course, the user is a user of a client, so there is a client, and the client needs connection to the server, SecureAnyBox server, and to the storage. Then the client can ask the server, give me the metadata and the key, and then the client can read the content from the storage. And a typical way is that it creates a template locally on the workstation, notebook, and then the user can work with that. We support I call it the ransomware, because that's, the ransomware department Microsoft implemented the encryption ransomware is using, but we use it as well. So you can say, okay, I want to use this protection. So you decrypt the storage with the key read from the server. And when we store the temporary copy here locally, we encrypt it using the key, which is a part of the profile of the user. This protects the file against access of other users of the same machine. So if you are afraid about the administrator, that there's a guy somewhere and the administrator has own profile here, with this protection, administrator cannot read the file. Of course, it depends, because you know that beginning, I don't know which build, but in Windows 11, if you install Windows 11, this is disabled because they are afraid about ransomware. So you need to enable it, and then you can use it. If you do not enable it, then our client says, sorry, you need to change the configuration because I'm not able to encrypt, okay? So it's a decision, I don't know, your security department should take. What is more important for you? Block ransomware or protect the data against other users of the same machine? When users are sharing, that's very similar. Both users need access to SecureAnyBox5 server, and then they can, work with the same file. So they can work like, okay, I read the file, I add my comments, and I encrypt using the client a new instance of the file. And we support versioning. So we change the name so it can be like with SharePoint, just a name and a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100, 200, yeah. And because there is already implemented everything like watching, so you can get a notification, oh, the file got changed, and it's now my turn to do something. Yeah, you can activate watching your scene. So, excuse me. This is the way how sharing is working. I have 2 users here in my example, but the number of users, with access to the file and sharing is not limited, but only, 1 user can work with the file at the time. No, in fact, everybody can work with the file, but when they start, let's say, updating, that depends who is first, second, third. So if for example, we both will add something to the file and we push save, yeah, maybe you will get number 2, I get number 3. So we get 2 instances of the file in SecureAnyBox. So 2 respectively 3 records in SecureAnyBox5 and 3 instances here with a random name and we provide various clients. Everything is for Windows. At this moment, we do not support external files for other platforms. That's only for Windows. API is a different story. I have API on top because from my perspective and for many customers, API is the most important. You see people trying to find a fitting solution for them. Some tenders like, public tender, or we want some software, and they quite often say it must provide API. An API, it's a very generic, but we have complex and full API, and we also provide so-called Swagger. Maybe you know what is that. Our Swagger is, let's say, version 2. And it's that, let's say, good that you can use some generator and you can generate your own client. So you can download generator from GitHub and you can generate your client in Python, and it works. To be honest, it makes less sense because we already provide generated clients and we always do some, let's say, improvements in the generated code. So we provide very good clients. And the client, why I call it a client, because if you start working directly with API, it's really not easy because you need to take care about anything which might happen, like, oh, no connection to the server, lost connection to the server, and yeah, the client does it for you. You do not need to deal with that. You just call some function and you return back a return code and it says, okay, then record is stored. Like, or other thing, authentication. SecureAnyBox is using very complex, we call it an enhanced client encryption. So the communication itself is quite complex. We provide multi-factor authentication. We provide SSO with the client. You do not need to take care about it. So that's why I mentioned API, and why I'm very proud that our customers and partners are using. Sometimes we know because they ask some support. So we say, they are working on it. But some of them, they simply do it. And if they do not get in touch, we do not know about it. It might be important for you, if you would use SecureAnyBox5, you might need to know, oh, is the user using a standard client provided by the vendor or something? Because even a user can do it. Your secretary can develop own client. I'm not kidding. That can happen. Yeah. The latest SecureAnyBox5 provides, includes a feature, and you can investigate what client has been used for the connection. So you see, oh, this user connected to the server, but it was not with a standard client. It was through API. Through API, that's anything else. Yeah, we can recognize standard clients. If it's not a standard client, it's API. But we cannot recognize, is it, I don't know, Python, Delphi, C#, PowerShell, or whatever. Nice example is Project Grid. There was a session yesterday planned about Grid, but unfortunately, Thomas Stimper was not able to do it. So I did a replacement session, totally different. Grid is a project for management of network appliances. And that's very nice example because I mentioned the situation when you invite a consultant to help you with your firewall, and the consultant arrives with a notebook, and consultant keeps everything about your firewall on the notebook. That is not a good situation for you, because a configuration typically contains really everything, including credentials you need to connect to the firewall and change something. Yeah. So Grid is now used in many other areas like building automation, but there's a software which provides scripts for different platforms, like script for Fortinet, script for Ruckus, and etc. Yeah, and they keep all the information in SecureAnyBox. So it is protected. You know, you need a user account to get access to it, and because some of, let's say, configuration files are big, they use the external files feature. That is why I mentioned it also. Yeah, that's a implementation which sits on top of SecureAnyBox5, and they use the external files feature. So we have standard clients, yeah, because it sounds nice, but imagine you have a real customer with real users, and you want them to use such a feature. We have CBT client, that is for the example is agent. CBT client is just a Windows program. You do not need to install it, you just run it. Everything is included in the code. That means that there is also your URL to your server and the certificate of your server. So it's really fully automatic. Yeah. But other clients are for the users, because if the user should work with, let's say, documents, that's quite typical situation. You might have some documents, some sheets with classified content, then you need to do it in a, let's say, easy way. It should be easy for the users. And I want to show you how it works. So here is my demo, and we have roughly 15 minutes. So during the demo, do not hesitate to ask, complain, comment. Yeah. I stop this, and I need to change sharing. It's here. Stop sharing, share, and I need to share screen. Okay. So this is my virtualized Windows. Oh, it's shared workstation, and I can close this. We do not need it now. And here I have Total Commander. You've seen Total Commander in the list, yeah. And Total Commander, we provide plugin for Total Commander, which allows you to work with the content of some sandbox. Simply any content you can access in SecureAnyBox5, like you access a folder in your file system, let's say. And people, before I start, I always hear, oh, you support such a outdated stuff, Total Commander, why you do it? That is very, very easy reason behind that. There is simply no other file manager for Windows with, you know, public and well-maintained API. And if, of course, we need API. So if you check a website, Total Commander website, there are, I don't know, 250 different plugins for Total Commander, because, of course, we are not the only vendor in that situation that we want to support Windows users, but how to do that? When Microsoft provides nothing, File Explorer even does not have a one API. There are two APIs. One API helps you to see something. You know, if you want to see content of something, there is one API. And another API allows you to work with the content, to read the file, to save the file, and it is not documented. Who is that crazy that we can work for several months, we can have something, and they will publish new update and it will stop working. So Total Commander API is maintained in a professional way. You know in advance, oh, this function is going to be obsolete within 2 years. Yeah. And what you can do, some people say, oh, it's 2-panel, that's so ugly. You can change configuration of Total Commander in that way that it looks almost like File Explorer. I'm not happy with that, so I use 2-panel, but you really can do that. So our customers do it that way. And it's a very common tool in Germany, in Switzerland, in Czech Republic. Even in Czech Republic, you visit a customer, you mention Total Commander, they say, oh yeah, we have a license. Okay. So now I'm in, I use Total Commander. I have some folder in my local file system on the left side, and I have SecureAnyBox on the right side. When there is you see a virtual folder named options. Of course, it's not there. It's just, you know, the way how the plugin can give you some information, because that is not implemented in Total Commander. There is no API for that, no pop-ups, nothing like that. So we use this way that we have a virtual folder, and in the folder it looks like files. But if I want to know about my server, about my plugin, I open a file and it shows the information. Okay, that is the same like I use this, and this, is it readable? It shows me mapping. You see who is familiar with Google. This is the way how Google works, especially if you make a mistake and you administer Google from a Czech Windows, it starts using Czech names, and there is no way how to change it later. So that's why I have L sdílené disky, that stands for shared drives, but that's a real Google, and this is a folder I created there. And it's mapped to drive L, which is, you know, if you install Google, I think they even by default use drive L. So they also do not provide any real integration. They provide a virtual drive, and that is the way how you can access the data in the cloud. Yeah. Why this mapping? I can give you a nice example, because one customer is using Microsoft Cloud. Yeah. And they have Windows workstations. So each user in the profile structure, you know, there are some folders like downloads, documents. There is also a folder for the cloud. But because that's a part of the user profile, each user has different full paths to it, because the name of the user plays a role in that. So that is not that nice. So we implement this for that customer, actually. And what they see in SecureAnyBox is only MS Cloud. No colons, no slash, no backslash, nothing, just MS Cloud. And they instruct the users, if you see MS Cloud, it's okay. You can complain, but they are happy with MS Cloud. So users, they see MS Cloud. But locally, it is mapped this way, exactly to the folder which is shown, or it's really there, you know, it's synchronized. It's really there, the folder, okay? So now I see content of my SecureAnyBox, and I have here my demo company named Amesbury. You maybe remember that I used this company during the previous session. And this is the content of the SafeBox. And here you do not see the icons like in the web interface, you see icons. Oh, that's let's say Adobe PDF. Yeah. Yeah, because of course on Drive, the files are really strange. I can show you, but here you see it like it would be a standard folder, but still it is encrypted. So if I try to, let's say, access something like I don't know, this file, so the extensions start, or the plugin start talking to the server, but it needs my access code, because without the access code, it cannot decrypt the record. So I provide my access code, and then it happens. So it gets the key, it reads the content, it stores the content locally, and now it's here. It took a while. Maybe other attendees of the conference are watching videos, I don't know. But you see, this is a picture I use in my session, my other session, and that's a PDF file. So now it's local, it's stored in a temporary folder, and it is encrypted because I use the local encryption. But Total Commander, that's a big advantage, takes care about it. So even if my Windows fall and I need to restart it, it can happen. It is not that common like before, but it can happen. No problem. When I start Total Commander again, Total Commander removes all those temporary folders. So there is no risk, and that is pretty important for customers, because they say, okay, we know when we work with the file, there is a temporary copy, local temporary copy, how you handle it. And in case of this plugin, we say, no, it's Total Commander. It's proven technology. It does it for us. We do not need to do it. Yeah. So we need to provide the plugin, and that's it. So it can look like a standard folder with everything. You see it, but it simply works with a protected storage. That's the important thing. If I want to, yes.
Can I copy in title?
Yes. Yes. You can copy in between two different SecureAnyBox servers. You can copy inside one SecureAnyBox server. Now I upload a file, and because I provide my access code before, the plugin remembers it, and it's there. It's the first in the list. It's there because it's sorted by date. Yes, you can do that, and you can even do whatever Total Commander is able to do. So you can even copy a structure. We've been testing, we copied or import, let's say, or upload 1 million files. This is one F5 to SecureAnyBox5, and it works. So the only problem, it's just an interesting comment or remark. The only problem you can have with importing very high number of files is the generation of random data, because the encryption mechanism and at the server, simply needs random data. When you encrypt with AES, you know how it works. There is a stream, you initialize the stream, and then you really, encrypt the content. So you need random data, but especially virtualized Windows servers are not able to generate enough random data at the time. That can happen. VMware, we use VMware. Most of our customers still use VMware. Maybe you've seen the discussions in TTP life after VMware because of prices, but still the reality is that they use VMware. So they improve, they've been working on it and they improve it significantly, but the problem is still there. What can happen? That you copy the files or upload the files, it goes like and stop. And then you see, oh, what happened? And what happened if the server runs out of the random data? By the way, if you are not familiar with that, server generates the random data continuously and it keeps it. But when you read random data from the operating system, it's not there anymore. So you read data, and if you are faster than the generation of the data at one moment, you hit the moment when the server has no data for you. And in that case, there is let's say a delay of 18 seconds. So that's a blocking function. You say, oh, give me random data. And you wait 18 seconds and then you get the new data. Yeah. So if you start importing, let's say, uploading a huge amount of files, it is not about the size of the files, it's about the number of the files. So with very big files, you okay, because encryption of a long file takes some time, so it has enough time to generate random data. If you have many small files, then you can run in problem. Yeah? In fact, it's not a real problem. It's simply a feature. That's how it works. Yeah, I never ever seen it on Linux. So if you have virtualized Linux and SecureAnyBox5 sits on Linux, I never seen it. Maybe it can happen, but I just never seen. With Windows, I've seen it several times. Yeah. So this is the way how it works. And we also, as I showed on the previous slide, we have client, and the name of the client is hot folder. And that is especially designed for the period when you migrate from the mess, or from the files anywhere in emails to well-organized and well-protected storage. So what can happen? If you open a file, like you press enter and it opens automatically by extension your Excel, you can modify it, you can store it, that's easy. But imagine you are as a user, you get a file and there is attachment and it's the document. You need the document, you need to protect the document. It's classified. So how to, from email, because with an email attachment, just enter, yeah, Excel, okay, I'm in Excel, how to do it. And that can happen with anything. It can be Notepad, I don't know. Yeah? So we implemented hot folder, and it works in that way that you can have one or more folders in your local file system. If you put anything there, the client gets it and uploads it to SecureAnyBox server. And after a short while, it removes the file. So that's the way how, we support regular users, because this is very easy. Again, it can be a local folder, MS Cloud. Why not? You put there and it goes. But it goes there encrypted. So especially for government organizations, you know that they are not allowed, and that makes sense, of course, to keep classified data in clouds. Absolutely no way if it's outside EU. If it's inside EU, it depends. But this is a full protection. Yeah, we even have a customer who has a team of lawyers, and they've been investigating it from their point of view. And finally, they said, this is okay. You can use it. So we started the project last year in September, and now the project is running, let's say, in production. It's used by users, yeah, people 60 years plus old, and they work with that, and absolutely with no problems. So I do a lab tomorrow, so we can play a little bit more with this. Now it's time. It's almost 2 p.m. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Just a question. So we see that more and more applications comes out for data analytics. So they go into the file, read the file, and classify it as private data in there, maybe cards information, telephone numbers or something, and say, okay, this file has private information. You're not allowed to share file or something else. I like this idea what you have created.
Thank you.
How you have already an idea how this can work together, that people will not share files with private information maybe that's get analyzed by some.
You know, people can always do whatever they want, to be honest. But with this, you know, first, they can share only with somebody who is also a user of SecureAnyBox, or at least they read the file. Of course, they can, I don't know, make a photo or a local copy. That is possible, yeah. But you know about it because you have audit. It goes to SIEM, and you can investigate it as a security incident. So you have some, let's say, options, but finally, you always need to convince the users that they should follow the policies because you cannot really block them to that. You know, I have very frightening stories about it, like from one bank. We have nice users, nice customers, banks, and one top manager, he's a member of 5 board members of the board. He told me a story that it was the last day of the month, and they had very nice chance to close very nice deal with a customer, but because there was a lot of money, they've been in, you know, in that situation that they were not able to approve it themselves, and they need approval from headquarters, and they were not able to send the details to headquarters. And he told me, you know, Mr. Šamša, I'm very smart guy. I say, oh, no doubts about that. I sent the file by email to myself. It arrived to my mobile phone. I click the share button and I share it to a public storage. There is in Czech Republic a public, very, very famous, the name of it is Uložto. That means in English, save it. I save it there. I got the link. I sent SMS to the manager somewhere, where is the headquarters. I provide him with the link, and he got the files, and we got the job. We got the deal, and he was so surprised. How smart am I? So you know, there is nothing which can protect you 100%, but this can really help because you have everything you need. You watch the users, you have audit, you can see what's been happening with the file, but it does not mean that the file cannot leak. And you raise your hand? No, nothing. So it's 2:02. I'm done with the session. Thank you very much. And if you want to play with that, I'm here tomorrow morning in the same room, starting 9 a.m. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks.